Did you know that according to the American Community Surveys in 2019, that 87% of Mississippi students are enrolled in a public school, whereas only 13% of students are enrolled in a private school? This means that many of you watching today have probably been impacted by the Mississippi public education system, or a public education system in another state. Over the past semester, I've researched the Mississippi Adequate Education Program and the current funding disparities that school districts face around our state. And I have come to the conclusion that in order to provide students with the necessary resources to succeed in their future, the Mississippi Adequate Education Program needs to be fully funded by the state legislature. An amendment similar to Initiative 42 would provide the most effective solution to solve the current funding crisis in our state. So in this speech, I'm going to talk about the Mississippi Adequate Education Program and current funding disparities that the program faces. Next, I'm going to talk about Initiative 42 and how an amendment similar to this initiative would provide the most effective solution for the issue. And lastly, I'm going to talk about the importance of public school funding in our state. So, to get started, let's talk about MAEP. MAEP is the Mississippi's current education funding program. It was established in 1997 to provide school districts with the adequate resources necessary to operate. However, since 1997, MAEP has rarely been funded. It's only been funded twice in its existence. According to the Mississippi State Constitution, MAEP utilizes a uniform formula that utilizes many individual district factors such as average daily attendance and local tax contributions to determine how much money is allocated to each school district. However, according to Ariel Dreyer in 2015, MAEP has been underfunded by about $1.63 billion since 1997. While there have been many attempts to actually fund MAEP, many of these attempts have gone unsuccessful. For instance, according to Richard Nave in 2017, the Supreme Court ruled that the state legislature is not bound by law to fully fund MAEP, and that the state legislature has the right to determine how much money should be allocated towards MAEP. Additionally, in 2015, Mississippi voters failed to pass Initiative 42, which would have amended Article 8, Section 201 of the Mississippi State Constitution to require that the state legislature fully fund MAEP. Now, an amendment similar to Initiative 42 would provide the most efficient solution to solve our state's current education funding crisis. According to Mississippi Initiative 42, the state shall provide for the establishment, maintenance, and support of an adequate and sufficient system of free public schools. Now, this is very important because an amendment similar to Initiative 42 would mandate that the state legislature fully fund MAEP. And it's also important because an amendment similar to this initiative would provide judicial oversight for the state legislature, enforcing the state legislature fully fund MAEP. This would make the legislature fully responsible for funding public education in our state and make it their sole priority to make sure that school districts get the resources necessary to give their students an adequate education. Additionally, Initiative 42 would not raise taxes for Mississippi citizens, but simply reallocate future revenue increases to fund public education. This is more appealing to Mississippi citizens because if there were to be an increase in taxes in the future, Mississippi citizens would know that these tax increases would go towards funding other government programs such as Medicaid or such as improving infrastructure in our state. For school districts, a gradual increase in funds will allow school districts to more efficiently utilize funds and provide the best resources necessary to provide students with the best education that they deserve. Now you're probably asking, Hannah, why is it important to even talk about funding public education in our state? Well, to be honest, compared to other states in the South, Mississippi public education is vastly underfunded. According to this graph by the United States Department of Education, Mississippi has one of the most underfunded public school systems in the South. Also, according to the National Center for Education in the 2014-2015 school year, Mississippi spent about $8,600 per student per year on education, whereas Connecticut, on average, spent about $19,500 per student per year on education. This is very crucial because research shows that increased funding in public school districts has a positive impact on student outcomes and student achievements because it provides students the necessary resources to succeed. According to Bruce Baker from the Learning Policy Institute, Increased education funds leads to better schooling resources, such as better technology in schools, all of which enhance a student's educational experience and provides them the best education necessary. Education in Mississippi has been at the bottom of the legislative agenda for too long, and as a result, many students go into the next phase of their life unprepared to make a lasting impact on society. In this speech, we've talked about MAEP and the funding disparities that it faces. We've also talked about an amendment similar to Initiative 42 that would solve these public school funding disparities in our state. And lastly, we talked about the importance of public school education funding in our state. It's time that Mississippians start prioritizing education in our state, and only then will our state even soar to new heights. Thank you.